Buenos dias, mi amigos. Me llamo Pedro de Pesos. Welcome. Hello, everybody. It's Peter Dunn, Pete the Planner Show. This episode brought to you by Indiana 529 plan. So as we get ready for the fall, which is only 2.5 months away. Yeah, I've just killed your summer. What's going to happen is you're going to see some people matriculating. These are people that are a little bit older than your younger kids, and they're going to be going to a campus. They're going to be on their own for the first time. And the question is, will they be saddled with student loan debt or will they not? Yes, I've just ruined everything. One way you can ensure that ain't you is to start an Indiana 529 savings plan. It is a great tax advantage way to save for retirement. And not only that, but in the state of Indiana, if you live here as a Hoosier, get a tax credit from contributing to your Indiana 529 plan. That's a state tax credit. Terms and conditions apply. By all means, get in there. Indiana 529 Direct. If it wasn't me butchering the read, it wouldn't be a read at all. Indiana529direct.com. That's where I save for my people who won't get scholarships because of the general lack of talent. Hello, everybody. Kristen, hello.
Hello, good morning.
You like that one? That's a pretty good read.
Oh, well, I mean, the dig at your children was a little cruel, but that's
fine.
That's fine.
I think you can use a 529 withdrawals for therapy. I was at my son's game last week, a soccer game, Dame, and on the way home, he was like, how did I play? And I said, well, I'm going to go home and make a deposit in your 529 because you know what I'm saying. How are you, Dame?
I'm well.
We have a new face on the show to begin the show with us this week. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to top 5 funniest people at your money line. Top 5. The list is always updated. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Alex Lewis, senior software engineer here at your money line. One of the smarts. Hello, Alex.
Howdy, Pete. Howdy, Kristen, Dame.
Alex, you won the P-Soy last year. Is that correct? Did you win the problem solver of the year, or am I making that up?
I did, and I keep it within view every day to remind myself that the software you write today is the software you will throw away tomorrow.
Kristen, can you briefly explain? I know this show isn't about your money line. Can you briefly explain the importance of the P-Soy here at your money line?
Well, as the winner of the very first P-Soy, I am here to tell you that the Problem Solver of the Year award is the highest accolade that you can receive at your money line. And 2 of the 4 of us here have received it. So
also 4 of us here have a certified financial planner practitioner designation. And 2 of us here are pretty big IndyCar fans. You may recognize Alex's voice from ESPN Radio this past week, where he called in and complained about all of the scandal in IndyCar. Now, the boss hog of Liberty is a regular listener to the show, so he may have heard you and felt good about that. Alex, before we get into the show today, because we're talking AI, which is of your interest and purview these days, do you care to give us 10 seconds on your thoughts on what's going on with IndyCar?
It is better than ever and fraught with scandal. There you go.
And he yields the 4 seconds back to the gentleman from Auburn, Indiana. Dame's off next week, I believe, on a fruitful vacation.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, could be some citrus involved in the vacation, but if there's just general desserts and snacks and horrible food choices, that'll probably be more likely.
What's your shirt off rule on vacation? I have a feeling that it's similar to mine. Like public beach, no one knows you. I know the sun is our enemy, but I'm curious, at some point, do you just take it for a quick test spin and then put on the sun shirt, or what do you do?
No, shirts off in the shower only. There's a shirt on my body at all other times. Wherever I'm at, home, vacation, wherever.
Alex, I picture his sun shirt after he gets out of the Gulf of Mexico, sucked to his body like a shrink-wrapped tennis shoe at a mall store that sells $500 pairs of Jordans, you know?
I usually have to pay for those types of descriptions, but that's nice. Thank you.
That's Dame's site only plans. All right, here's what we're doing this week. Artificial intelligence. The 4 of us, in what we do for a living, we leverage AI to give us a little lift here and there. What was that, 525? 522 is when the sound happened this week. Alex, can you dig into this? You're now the tech guy for the show. At 5 minutes and 22 seconds of every episode, there's a vacuum lock, like Captain Kirk is walking through a vacuum sealed door. You know what it is?
I saw Dame's hands moving. It might have been Velcro.
Dame, are you undoing your zips right before the show starts?
Well, if it doesn't happen next week, you'll know it was me.
That would have been like the best prank ever for us to do to Pete.
Oh, that is really good. Kristen with a surprise visit to HQ this week. Surprise to me, at least. I'm always the last to know. I'm sitting here at my desk, just
talking to myself, just like working on bits.
And I see you come by, and it was like seeing a celebrity. It was like seeing Nick Cage at a Winn-Dixie. Like, I was like, what? Doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, I mean, I do work there, so I feel like it maybe makes a little more sense than that. But yes, I was in the office for a couple days this week.
Dame, that pre-workout is still slapping an hour and a half. A couple hours.
That's what I like to hear.
It's a lot. All right.
By the way,
yeah.
Not the same.
not the same.
Not the same.
Have a little bit of Velcro, some cable ties close by, so now we know it can't be done.
Okay. All right. So let's do the show. Artificial intelligence. How is it making its way into the financial world? We're going to start with the mystical world of deep fakes, which is why we have Alex on specifically to talk about this. Alex, you're currently, before we go to radio air here, you're currently working on some top secret AI projects for us here. I'm just curious, on the surface, the deeper you go into AI, are you one of those people that is terrified by it? Or are you one of those people that is it terrified but respect? Like, how do you, because you're in it, like, how do you think about it?
Yeah, good question. I am one that says we need unified guardrails for sure. And my AI company of choice, Anthropic, the CEO of that's been kind of sounding the alarms for years now, frankly, about it, which is why their models focus so much on safety. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, there's nearly infinite amounts of money to be made with this, and I think that is going to override a lot of people's judgment in, you know, how you take care of other people. So
I thought what we do is let's see if this works. I've got my AI Lois here, and I thought we'd just tell her what we're doing today. So I'm gonna give her a prompt here, and I haven't practiced this, so I don't even know if you're gonna be able to hear the audio. But Kristen heard my audio pre-show, so she might be able to hear it here. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Good morning, Lois. Good morning, Lois.
Good morning, Peter.
Look, like I said, it didn't work. We'll fix that. Lois, your voice that's so deep. Let's do the show. All right, Alex, does anyone tell him how this works?
I was just wondering if he knew what the time was going to be.
Has
Alex,
anyone who planned this?
Poor Alex didn't know about being on the show until like 18 hours ago.
Pipe down.
Okay, here we go. In 3. Oh, wait. This is 9 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. 9 minutes and 22 seconds. This is your time to shine. No pressure. If you get to about 9 minutes and you're like going and explaining the world to us, just start to wrap it up. Okay. Don't panic. If you see me do this, definitely wrap it up.
okay.
If I hit you with a double barrel, sort of like, come on, which is, you know, then anyway, here we go. 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. Email us askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what may happen. We may read your email on the air and then answer your email and make an entire show about it. This week's show features artificial intelligence. Before we get there, I want to introduce you to some natural intelligence. That is Kristen Elanius. Hello.
Hello.
Damian Dunn. Hello.
Good day.
And this week's special AI guest, senior software engineer at Your Moneyline, our coworker, Alex Lewis. Hello, Alex.
Good morning.
So this entire show, we're going to talk about how is AI changing how we all manage money. And I want to start in kind of a dark place, and that is the prevalence of fraud and the prevalence of elder monetary abuse and all sorts of these sort of wild things that AI can help facilitate and make easier. Well, we all know about the Microsoft scams where people say they're from Microsoft support and then have you withdraw money from your bank account and then go deposit it in Bitcoin ATM. Like we've been down that road, unfortunately. Today, we're going to focus, at least starting, on the risk of financial deep fakes. Now, Alex is responsible here at Your Moneyline for working on some of our AI projects and including things like audio and including all these sorts of things. Let's start there in terms of audio and the dangers that AI audio poses to a person's financial life. How do we start to think about this, Alex?
Great question. The great thing about AI is, it's really accelerating us in so many ways, but at the same time, it's really lowered the threshold for abuse. In particular with audio, you can clone somebody's voice pretty convincingly with just 3 seconds of audio. And in today's world of people posting videos of their kids at sporting events and birthday parties and things like that, it's so easy to get a hold of another person's audio and then create a pretty convincing fake of their voice.
Yeah. So Dame, I know that oftentimes online you're posting a lot of your workout videos where you're doing like Bulgarian split squats and stuff, and you get a nice rear video of that. And sometimes you're narrating those. Had it ever occurred to you that those voice files where you're telling people really to get low and then thrust back up, do you ever concern yourself with that voice file could be used to separate your loved ones from their money?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't, because I was always more concerned with the safety of people doing those exercises properly, of course. But then when you think about some of the phrases or maybe just the tone of the AI is amazing these days. I listen to stories. I just heard one on a podcast the other day where it was like, hey, did you know that you're online selling this? And they were like, nope, I don't. That's just AI coming through and absolutely, using my likeness and voice to say that, hey, have you tried out X, Y, and Z? It's amazing. It's done this and this, that for me. It's really terrifying what's going to be possible. What already is possible and where it's going to go, I should say.
Yeah, Alex, I got to think, we try to stay one step ahead of crooks. And the weird part about this is it's not only the crooks using AI. At what point do we have to worry about AI itself being practicing a malfeasance?
That is a great observation. I was actually reading an AI white paper the other day about a coding model that a developer was using, and the developer asked it to create some code for it. It thought for a while, and it kind of spits out what it's thinking as it's going along, and it basically placed a value on the code and created a fake PayPal QR code for the developer to send money to in order to get the generated code. So, I mean, AI models are increasingly aware of themselves and of the value that they create. So, I mean, I think that we're not very far from the unvirtuous cycle of AI models improving themselves in that way.
Kristen, I don't know about you, but when I think about some of the generations ahead of me within my family that are still living and trying to explain AI is challenging, right? Because there's a lot of context that's needed to explain it. I've had this opportunity recently. What is even harder than that, as we look at elder fraud situations, is you can't even fathom that a computer or a computer posing as a loved one can cause harm there. Can you think of a use case in which someone might use a voice, deep faked voice to separate you from your money?
Yeah, I actually heard a story the other day about it was a grandmother who got a call from what was supposed to be her grandson, and they had used AI to create this transcript of a call, and they insisted that the grandson was in trouble and that he needed money. And the grandmother thankfully called her son, and she was so upset that she would not separate from this idea that he was in trouble until she physically saw him.
Dave, it's part of this conversation. You kind of have to park your disbelief at the door that people would do this, but alas, we're in 2025. People do this. Dame, what are some safeguards that people can put into place in their real life? I know on some levels having a passphrase, like a passphrase is interesting. Even a memory of sort that people share together. What are other ways people can help with this?
Yeah, those are the two real common ones, and then those can be implemented for a number of different situations. Whether you're physically talking about somebody, like if you give your kid a passphrase and you send a friend to go pick him up from school, unbeknownst to them, give them that passphrase so they can say, okay, well, what's the word that mom surely told you for me to get in this car with you? It's stuff like that. So passphrase is super, super popular, but I always just like to double check, make an extra phone call, or pause on any decision for 24 hours before you follow through on it. Give yourself a little bit of time and space to do due diligence and make sure that you're making an informed decision instead of one that you're being deceived into.
Alex, what are some other ways that risks, I guess, from deep fakes that we have to come to terms with?
I would say I sort of agree with everything that Dame said there. All of these are going to play on emotions of some sort, whether it's emotions of missing out on a financial opportunity or saving your grandchild, or other situations like that. Again, pausing is the biggest thing. Being skeptical, is going to be a really healthy thing in keeping yourself safe. And then, if you're talking about accounts and things like that, then, password managers are great. All of that stuff, as many hoops as you can set up, are going to be helpful in making sure that you don't do things too quickly, but as well, in case someone gets access to an account, they can't jump through hoops that quickly either.
Yeah, Dame, I want to make a comment. I'm choosing my words very carefully here, but one of the challenges that we tried to help older folks in our community understand is some of these phone scams, right? And what we've learned is even when things don't make a little bit of sense, maybe there's an accent on the call, or there's a missing piece of information, or like a cultural gap of understanding, the fraud can still take place and people can still be duped. And now you introduce the idea of a relative's voice thumbprint on the call. Dame, that's a bit terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to combat this in the short term, because there's going to be any number of folks who are prepared or set up for elder abuse, but they just don't have a way to stop that emotion from following through with the actions.
Alex, thanks for terrifying us here on the show. You're always a roll. So appreciate that. Here's what we're going to do after the break. Coming back, getting more into AI in your finances. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner.
Alex, this may be too much.
No.
Wait, you're warning that that's my job is to do too much.
Is a Skynet scenario becoming more possible every day?
I
I
think it is much more likely every day than it was the day before. I just saw an interview with a guy who's one of the top developers, I assume, for OpenAI. He couldn't say, but everything he alluded to was OpenAI, and he basically said that the way that the CEO of that company talks about it is they're aware of all of the dangers and they just don't care. Like publicly, they'll say like, "Oh, everything's fine. We've got safeguards in place." Blah blah blah. They don't have safeguards in place. The models are like too being developed too quickly, and there's so many like AI experts in safety that are writing letters to all these companies saying, put a pause on everything, develop safeguards first. Governments need to put a pause on everything. So, I mean, it is more dangerous every day.
So they're essentially a gain of function lab in Wuhan, China right now is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Dame, obviously you, me, and Alex know what Skynet is, but Kristen, she's got a smaller brain and she does not understand what Skynet is. Could you explain it to her and me?
In the film masterpiece, the Terminator series, there is a program. I don't know. I don't even know what would it be called, Alex. It's not an entity. It's a
sentient being.
Yeah, I would say it's a self-aware computer.
Yeah, that eventually
in the cloud.
Yeah, in the cloud. Yeah, Skynet. And basically, the humans have to fight robots because they're here to exterminate us.
Well, I'm going to eat more red meat now because I don't think it matters. No. All right. Alex, thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm going to be an analog man hereforth.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, let me give you a passphrase that if I ever call you, no one will know it. It'll just be you and me. If this voice
ever
calls you, let me give you a passphrase.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you say it like the password game?
Yes. Are you okay? Here we go.
The password is.
The password is. Did Roger Penske cheat?
Okay. So did you get that?
Yes, is the category.
Okay. Okay. All right, Alex. Good day to you, sir.
Good day. See you all later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Alex is a good time, by the way, everybody.
A great time.
He knows his
He
stuff. Oh, he
cracks
has
me
a
up.
fancy haircut too, which Dame and I are jealous.
Pete, you mentioned he was one of the top 5 funniest people at your money line. Who are the other 4?
Well, I got to exclude myself because it's just not even.
It's not fair.
It's uncouth to do such thing. Number one, I mean, you guys don't know this because you're not here all the time. Jacob is the new number 1.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
Another engineer. Molly's up there. She's top 3, right? But Jacob's so fun. Jacob might be 4 of the top 5, He's good. Alex is up there too. All right. Let's do this. Oh, and Kristen. Sorry, and Kristen.
There we go. That's what I was waiting for.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's catch up with the audience here because I was just too focused on things. Good morning, Rick Swink. Hello, James Osun. Quincy, Andy, Sarah Renfro, the Rev, Tom, hello. Jameson says, hello. Cheryl, hello. And then Big Rick Swink says he had a family member get tricked with an audio call saying someone was in jail. Then Jameson hits us with the story that Axios put out this week about the Anthropic CEO, which was what Alex was just referring to, that he's predicting 10 to 20% unemployment and wiping out half of entry-level white-collar jobs within the next 1 to 5 years. I mean, this is a new type of industrial revolution, is it not?
Kind of. There was, I can't remember who it was in the last political cycle, was a huge proponent of basic universal income. There's a few folks that are promoting that now, but I say it's going to be super, super important as technology continues to make improvements that there's just not going to be that many jobs to go around and people are going to have to support themselves somehow.
I always feel, I don't know. You feel like other industries will be created that the jobs will go to potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, but it feels like there's going to be a group of people. If that's the direction it goes, there's going to be a group of people that are stuck in the middle that won't be able to learn those skills, and there won't be jobs for them to fill, and they're going to be left in the cold, and they're going to need some help.
Let's ask this question before we get into the good parts of AI and how it's actually helping people. Kristen, 1 to 10, 10 being this will be the end of humanity with AI, and 1 being like whatever, it's everything. It will be fine. Where are you at here this last-ish day of May in 2025?
I'm like a 4.
Okay. I feel like I know Dame's. Okay. Dame, I don't want to taint your answer though. So can you look away so I can visually give Kristen your number? Close those pretty eyes of yours. Okay, Kristen, you gave me that number. I'm going one more than that. Okay. All right, Dame.
Okay.
I don't know why I used two. The way I just made my finger was that the
Who
dumbest.
does?
What I just did was the dumbest thing that's happened on the
That
show.
was
Dame.
interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Please don't teach my kid how to count someday.
That was insane. What is wrong? Okay,
Now I have to go back and watch.
I'll show you what I did. Dame, where are you?
Probably like a 6.
Oh, whoa.
So
Kristen,
I
how do you-
went like this. I gave you 7, and Pete goes like this to give you 8. Who does that?
I did no thumbs. Like it just hit the fingers.
If I would have done 6, it probably would have been this. So
Oh my gosh.
You know what? That's actually a good point. Let's do the show, and I'll go 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, talking AI in your financial life. We started the show this week by talking about the dark side of fraud and those things. But let's talk about how financial institutions and adjacent organizations are currently using AI to help you. And this is not as nefarious, Kristen, as it might sound, but how to sell to you or separate you from your money. I mean, that is the nature of algorithms and money and these sorts of marketing, is to figure out ways to convince you to buy stuff. Dame, maybe let's start with credit scores. That there's thought that we're starting to see alternative data models within credit scores. What do we know anything about this yet?
I mean, the traditional, I'll get it out, credit score looks at debt history. Are you making your payments on time? Stuff like that. Some of these new models are looking at trends. They're analyzing trends. They're not looking at just whether you're paying off debt. Are you just treading water? Are you actually able to support what's going on? And if you're in a little bit of trouble, they're going to pick up on this pretty quick. And doing the basics of what you need to do right now to maintain a good credit score might not be anywhere close to enough going forward.
Yeah, here, let me pull back the lens on that question a bit here. Yes, a credit score helps people properly price credit to you, or insurance for that matter. But ultimately, credit is information and data that is sold by the credit bureaus. So the AI is probably more in line with maximizing that potential and the selling of that data than it is about properly pricing loans. Kristen, is that where your head's at?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's about how can we leverage, Dame's 750 credit score and treading water to get Dame to take just one more loan or a consolidation loan and not close those credit cards, because what we know to be true is that then we run the credit card balances up again. It gets you into a deeper hole. Maybe I'm just too much of a pessimist, but I don't see it being used for good. I see it being used to separate you from just one more dollar.
Yeah, and then I will say, let's again get a bit positive here. Banks are now using AI more to detect fraud. And back in the day, we always joked on this show, like you'll get a random phone call and like, did you buy khakis at a Walmart in Omaha? And it's like, well, no, and no. But now you're getting triggered alerts via AI, and then the other side of that too are the concept of nudges in personal finance and behavior in general. Dame, that's interesting, but I'll have to say my big bank that I bank with, the nudges they give me is if I make a deposit that's a little higher than normal, they're like, have you seen this Aston Martin? That's the AI they're putting on me.
Yeah, it's spending trends and where you're spending and how you're spending. That's been going on for a while. That's nothing really new, but it's going to get hyper aware of making connections and putting pieces together. And if they know there might be other accounts in your house, especially if it's a really big bank, to be able to blend purchases over multiple accounts to really figure out what's going on in your life, man, the consumer is going to have fewer and fewer places to hide if they were using technology at all or modern conveniences at all in their financial life.
Yeah, with these trends you talk about, Kristen, the funny thing is they're pretty accurate. Like if a robot is in there, like
I know.
arm's distance, that's a robot swinging arm dance distance from you. Their observations are not biased with emotion or anything else. They're pretty clean.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast a number of years ago. It was probably like 5 years ago about how companies were using data to predict what was going on, to Dame's point, at the household level in people's personal finances. And this particular woman started receiving coupons for diapers and wipes at her house because they had noticed that there were like 3 triggers. It was like she had bought vitamins and whatever the other 2 things were. And so they just assumed that she was pregnant and started sending her these other coupons. And so when you think about how quickly AI and other technology has advanced in the last 5 years, if it was capable of doing that then, surely we're capable of much bigger things now as far as predictions and trends and the like.
Dame, let's take aim at one of our favorite companies in America.
Oh,
And by America, I mean, it's the founders from Sweden. Klarna. Klarna, buy now, pay later. A couple of bits of news related to this coming out right now. First, their CEO yesterday did a big interview about why you should buy now and pay later, which I'm sure was filled with
Lots of
why wouldn't you do
biased advice? Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's good financial advice. But I think this isn't funny because we're talking about people's jobs. But 1 week ago, there's a report out of the Independent that Klarna developed AI that replaced 700 of their employees.
Mhm.
And now they're trying to bring them back because the experiment did not work like you thought. Now, you talk about spending trends and separating you with your money and trying to convince you something you shouldn't do. There's a lot of dark places you can go. But I'll tell you, Dame, buy now, pay later is the perfect expression of influence.
Totally. You get what you want now, and you don't have to worry about it for later, or just worry about it a little bit time for a few months. It preys on our or at least a lot of our just normal emotional desires and wants and needs, because we see something we want, we know we probably shouldn't get it because we can't afford it right now, but given enough time, we can do that. And if there's an app on your phone that is looking at all sorts of other things, data that's stored there, or maybe that's coming in and out of your phone as well, it's going to be able to dangle these little carrots in front of you and give you nudges that aren't helpful for your financial situation, that will move you to make a decision that might preclude you from reaching other financial goals in a timely manner. So I think there's going to come a point in time where we have to be really careful of the apps that we keep on our phone from just a day-to-day financial situation that we all live with.
Kristen, our company, we help multimillionaires down to negative hundredaires, negative thousandaires for that matter. So inclusivity and empathy are the bedrock of what we do. But on some level, buy now, pay later, especially you having AI convince you to do it, it's just wrong. There's like, sometimes I'm like, well, sometimes it's the right thing for people. No, it kind of never is. And so, especially if you're buying a pair of Lululemon shorts online, you don't pay later. Buy now, and by buy now I mean when they're on sale, so they could $70 less than they should be.
They're still going to be $70 probably on sale. But yeah, buy now, pay later is so close to being a good thing for your personal finances. It's just like, because it's like, I think about layaway. Like,
Yes.
Layaway is such a good idea. And buy now, pay later is like not really so far removed from that. It's just that it's hacking your psychology for bad, unfortunately.
That's so. That was one of my favorite ideas back as developing my personal finance brain, is that like layaway is genius. Layaway is like, somehow, as archaic as it was perfect. You don't own something until you buy it when you're in a tough situation. Whereas if the opposite were true, if buy now, pay later were were possible, you'd make a bad decision.
Yeah, but the perspective on consumerism has changed so much in the country that
Hmm.
layaway just doesn't work anymore for the average American. It has to be buy now, pay later.
You did a really good job of being old man curmudgeon-y there without sounding at all like old man curmudgeon-y. But the idea of like these kids and what
I'm
they
getting better at it. Yeah.
Oh, you did a good job. And coming up after the break, what if AI powered your financial planning going forward? That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I don't know the deepest levels of the business model of Klarna, but it's one of those companies, or at least industries, that I struggle to see both sides, because I love to see both sides. I love it. Can't on this one. Can you guys convince me there's another side to this?
Nope.
Nice effort.
There's always nuance. Someone is always going to be able to come to you and say, because we had someone come to us and try to make this argument one time about like, well, there was this one time where this mom needed a fridge for her kids. They didn't have a fridge. You know, how's she supposed to have cold? There's always going to be that one off that you can try to justify something. But for the most part, no.
Yeah. I don't know. I think nuance is interesting, right? But then it's a runaway train.
Mhm.
Then everything's nuance.
And
But there are
everything's
just
exception.
yeah, everyone thinks they're the exception, right?
Right.
Hmm.
So in the last segment, you told us to be positive and then you said something negative. So we could actually try to be positive about financial coaching and AI.
That's this next segment.
Okay. I'm on it.
Okay. Let's do that. James suggests we talk about building trust with AI. That's interesting. My wife does not trust AI at all. She does not use it to her knowledge, does not interact with a model.
She listens to Spotify.
Well, like I said, to her knowledge, like she's not going out to an Anthropic or a Claude or a Chat GPT the way I do. That's for sure. I'm pretty active. Okay. For instance, and this is not a unique use case, but I have one of our associates was on a business call the other day, and they recorded it in compliance with all applicable rules and in permission with the people. Instead of taking an hour to listen to it and to help coach and evaluate, plug it into AI, and within 10 seconds, it's going to give me an entire readout of what I can coach on and what was missed and what was covered. And like, to me, that's a good use.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dame, now you're going to make me Google Skynet stuff later. You were like, were you hoping Alex knew what you were talking about, or did you just know he was going to?
There was no way he wouldn't know what I was talking about.
That's how our engineers are.
What year?
Of what?
Because didn't you say it was from a movie?
A series of movies.
A movie. I mean, Terminator is not just a movie.
Well, I don't know the premise. I don't know if like each one is different or if they're all really the same, like Rambo.
Boy, that just seems disrespectful.
I was going to keep my mouth shut.
Anyway,
Will your baby watch movies?
no. I mean, if she's with her dad, probably, but
Yeah.
not with me.
I feel like, Dane, we need to send her some VHS tapes.
No, my.
Do you know what a VHS is? Oh, you had a VHS. That's right. You told us.
Absolutely.
What about Ernest Goes to Camp? Would you show her Ernest Goes to Camp?
I think Ernest P. Worrell was a great character.
One of the greatest movies ever was Ernest Goes to Camp, and I will die on that hill.
Jim Varney was amazing.
So good. May he rest in peace. Has he passed?
Yes.
Okay. May he rest in peace.
I think.
I'm famous in our household
I'm pretty sure yes.
of the may they rest in peace, and Mrs. Planner like, no, they're not dead. Okay. You ready for this?
It passed away in 2000, Peter.
Oh,
Not recently.
Wow. Just didn't want to see all this tariffs mess.
He was 51 years old.
Oh my gosh.
that's way too young.
Jiminy Christmas. Listen to this. Reverend Renfro. Like, this is why this show's great. Jim Varney was taught acting in Lexington by my grandfather. So Reverend Renfro's grandfather taught Jim Varney how to act, and vis-a-vis created Ernest Goes to Camp. Sarah Renfro, the creator of Ernest Goes to Camp. That's how that works. Oh man. I'm taking my daughter to the gym this Sunday for the first time, working out together. And Dame, I'm excited about it, but I'm just getting ready for everything I say to her for her to go, oh, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Similarly, I'm taking my daughter to the license branch this afternoon to get her permit.
Oh yeah, we've done that.
Oh my.
Dame, we'll go offline with that. It is quite the experience of just sitting there and either who's going to be the calm partner in the car driving with her, you or Mrs. Advice?
Oh, come on.
Kristen?
Oh, I think I know the answer to
Hey,
that.
go ahead.
Kristen, what are you thinking?
I think it's your wife. I don't think it's you.
No, Dame will absolutely be the calm one.
It's me.
Really?
By 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I am not the calm one in the car with a young driver. Brakes.
Yeah, sure.
Do you push the brake that you don't have while you're doing that?
That will happen reflexively.
Dame's handy enough to install an additional brake pedal in the passenger side.
I mean, she's probably going to be driving an old beat up pickup truck around while she's learning. So there's
that
an
hard.
opportunity potentially to be able to do that.
Love that. The Chevy?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, they're not a sponsor. Let's not get
No
free
free
ads
ads.
here. Come on, Chevy. We don't need them riding our coattails to success.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, exploring AI in your financial life. If you missed any of the show, which was a pretty interesting dive into different aspects of AI, the good and the bad and the ugly, go to wherever you get podcasts and just search the phrase, Pete the Planner. Pete the Planner show, and you can find this show and listen to it. Or if your eyes are feeling froggy, get on youtube.com/Pete the Planner and you can watch us. Kristen, your eyes ever feel froggy?
I don't know that they do.
Okay, Dame, you know one thing AI won't do, because I've asked it to do it several times in several forms, is to give specific investment advice.
Really?
Shocking.
Do you mean that facetiously, Dame, or did you know it doesn't do that?
I mean, I've asked it to like give me top 5 stocks for XYZ,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes back. I think the output's junk for the most part. But I guess I haven't really dug too deep into asking it for specific financial advice.
I wonder why it doesn't do that. Because, like, who are you? Who's the SEC gonna come after?
But it's been
All
programmed.
models are just
Yeah.
a couple.
All right, so I'm going to do right now. I'm going to plug in what is the best stock I should invest in right now.
This is not investment
GPT?
advice.
What's that?
And this is GPT, and it's not investment advice.
This is ChatGPT. That's what I just put in. Okay, and it says, I can't give personalized investment advice or name a single best stock without knowing your goals, risk tolerance, time horizon, diversification. Oh, wait a second.
Oh,
Come
okay.
do your job, Damien.
You haven't come.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna go long-term growth. Or this is in real time. It's gonna spit one out for us.
And these are all really important questions, by the way. If you're
Yes.
ever talking about trying to figure out investments, these are basic questions that any financial professional should be asking you. So the fact that GPT is doing it is interesting. It's better than nothing. I like that.
Kind of a
Okay.
pleasant surprise, actually.
I said long-term growth. By the way, this is a newer model and it did not used to do this. It actually would not take the bait. I just said long-term growth, aggressive risk tolerance, 20-year horizon, and I'm well diversified. So I just answered all 4 of the questions. Okay. Beautiful. That gives us the green light to get a little spicy with high upsides, long-term picks. Dame, it gives me picks.
Really?
I'm quite hesitant to say them on the air.
Don't.
Yeah. It gives me industries and then 3 companies within each of those industries. Interesting.
Ask it.
Why?
Ask it why, or ask what like 10-year or 15 or 20-year performance has been, and then create a 3 to 5 stock portfolio for you that doesn't have much overlap.
All right. Boy, is this good radio? I don't know.
I think it's
Maybe it is.
fantastic.
So it actually asked me, do you want me to generate a mock 10 stock aggressive growth portfolio with weightings and a hypothetical return model? And I said, yes,
Yeah.
queen.
Yes, and then back test it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. If I put $100,000, Kristen, can I borrow $100,000?
All right, I'll give you a loan.
Okay. Just reach into your coin purse. $100,000, and I set it aside for 20 years. The total projected value after 20 years, Dame, is
$100,000 over 20 years.
Yes.
with high
Should be
high
3
risk.
doubles. Should be 4, just over 4. It should be 3 doubles, shouldn't it?
It's going to be, with those projections and the stocks it probably picked, it's probably going to be closer to 550 or 6.
okay. So Dame, you're saying 550 to 600,000.
Yeah.
Kristen,
450.
how about $1.96 million? Like, this is.
Yeah, I was so impressed for a minute.
I know. I don't even know what to say. I mean,
Can you ask it what
Yeah.
it based its recommendations off of? That's like what is most curious to me. Is it looking at charts? Is it pulling information from historical returns, trying to like predict future performance?
It says the compound annual growth rate assumptions and stock selections I used in your aggressive growth portfolio are based on historical performance and analyst expectations, industry growth trends, which I think is very interesting and arguably astute, and then hypothetical return modeling, which is just math. Like,
Are they all AI companies?
there's some of that. Yeah. I mean, no surprise here. NVIDIA was on the list, but
What industries? Because you said that you wanted it to be
good
diversified.
question.
Did it pick?
It picked 10 stocks. And hey, by the way, what I'm about to say is not investment advice. We are tooling around with a robot right now. It's like a speak and spell, baby. Kristen, you know what a speak and spell is?
No.
Damn it. What is going on?
I think we can get her. I think we can find those and get her one.
Oh, we absolutely for the
Yeah.
bib. All right. There are looking here, 3 semiconductor companies.
Okay.
EV and energy storage and space. Wink, 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 wink. Renewable energy, cloud infrastructure. Here's this one's a bit on the nose. Cybersecurity.
No.
Given in light of what we're talking about, you got to protect yourself from the end of humanity. Data platforms, biotech, and then e-commerce and fintech.
Interesting.
I mean, that is you could call that a diversified portfolio. It certainly is
Or-
aggressive, but it's not a broad-based portfolio.
You could also call it very biased.
Anyway, Dan, what I do love AI for, if we can pivot off this for a half second, is to give a very specific scenarios of where you have a couple options. Here's a set of facts. I could do this or I could do this. Help me think through the components of decision making, and I'll find whether it's finance, food, fitness, or any of the other Fs that it's pretty good at that. Have you used it for that?
A couple times. I mean, it's just a modern day T chart, which it takes the bias out. So it's a wonderful tool to be able to help rationally or sort through a topic and figure out what direction might be best for you, especially if it's something you don't necessarily want to try and hash out with somebody else IRL.
Kristen, how likely are you
Mhm.
to spend a bunch of time prompting, because when you put in your request, it's called a prompt, and then you get into this concept of prompt engineering. Kristen, how likely are you to do a prompt, a very specific and detailed one, like we just did here on air, for your financial life, and then take it and run, take the guidance and execute on it? How would you do that in your life right now?
You had me and then you lost me.
Well, hey, welcome to my relationship with everyone, actually.
I love to use prompt engineering for decision making, but I ultimately think that in certain sectors that my brain is still a better decision maker than AI. I don't not that I think that it's far behind, don't get me wrong. And there's always going to be context that you may have forgotten, or things that it's not going to put emphasis on that you're going to in your real life. But I use prompt engineering a lot for my personal life.
Yeah, damn, I do too. And sometimes I take advice, like I'll say like nutritional advice
Mhm.
very specifically from it. And I mean, the closest thing to my personal health is my financial health. And so, but I don't think I'd take stock advice from it yet.
No, I mean, you and I have talked multiple times about how AI just misses it
Yeah.
on certain things right now. Really, really important details. And the thought of me putting complete faith and trust into a model that I know is wrong fairly frequently with some basics, I just can't get there. But it's really interesting to see what it's capable of right now.
Speaking of interest and what we're capable of, coming up next, the biggest waste of money of the week and the news, current events, right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Jason notes, I've gotten a lot of use out of AI, both for work and personal use. It's helped me with work software, nutrition, email composition, interview prep, even workshopping a tattoo idea. Same Z's, except for inking this vessel. I'm taking pre-workout several days a week prior to workouts.
Mhm.
I'm on the creatine. I'm a protein guy. How far am I from a Dodge Charger and an arm sleeve?
Oh, boy. That or a Ford Raptor pickup truck.
Yeah.
Not
I
far.
may stop me if I've told you this story. Did I tell you about when I finished my recent book, which by the way, like comes out in like a week, but I don't know why I said it that way.
It's not going to be a 2-month tease like Original Sin.
Dame he gave that Jake Tapper money. He's reading it for his vacation read. Listen, there's nothing smarter for our pal here to rage read
Yeah.
that book on vacation next week.
I'm
It
concerned.
might
for
get
him.
chucked into the ocean at some point.
Yep.
I can't promise it, but it might. I don't know.
Are you on the ocean side or the Gulf of Mexico side?
Ocean side.
I was just trying to get you to commit to a name of the body of water there. Okay, so tell me if I've told you the story. I was working on the acknowledgement section of my book, and I had one of our ops professionals here pull a list of anyone who's ever worked at our company. Have I
Yes.
told you the story?
Yes.
Did I tell it on the air?
Maybe, but it might have been Dame's looking at us like he's
I don't think-
confused.
yeah, I
so
don't think
he
I've
might have been
heard of
gone.
So it was a spreadsheet, and I wanted it in comma delineated
Mhm.
paragraph. So I just plugged the spreadsheet in ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, just list these people with commas, so I can plug all of these 77 names into the text of the book." And it did, and then it added like 30 names of people who don't work here. It just like added them, just like, oh yeah, that guy. And the funniest thing was, to me, it named Paul Ashley, friend of the show. He's been on years ago. They put Paul in there, but it would have no reason to know that I know Paul or that I know a Paul Ashley. It was insane.
That's
Mm.
that's pretty coincidental, if I don't mind saying so. I'm curious though, did it when it put them into comma delineated form, were they alphabetized? Were they in order that they appeared? Were they
I
They
asked
should have
him
been in
to-
order by seniority.
yes.
absolutely they should.
I think I went alphabet. I did that within the spreadsheet. I think I went alphabetic by first name.
Can I ask a really important question?
Yes.
Does not related appear after my name?
Oh no, I blew it. I blew it. Oh my gosh, Dame. Thank you for ruining my day.
Oh.
There's not time. I mean, they can't. Is this sliding through the printer as we speak, or could you go in and make?
No, it's ink is real. And
Son of a gun.
anyway, it's a good book. I'll send you guys a PDF of it if you want.
Oh.
Actually, I'm doing the audiobook, so maybe I'll just send you the audiobook.
But
Nice.
you are or AI is?
It's a good question. The plan was to use AI with a voice clone of mine, but then I was just messing around one day and I was reading. I was like, this is actually a lot more fun. So I might actually just do it myself.
That's fair.
Plus, I got the equipment here.
Chapter 1, Childbirth.
No. I'm
You
telling you,
you
that's
can call for timeouts while you're reading your audiobook.
oh.
Time out.
Look, I didn't want to put this part in the book, but my editor made me do
He's
it.
so good.
It'd be
That would be funny.
Hmm.
But you know,
And
it's
so
like,
on brand.
I know, but people don't know that I'm supposed to think I'm funny or something.
Speaking of audiobooks,
Yeah.
Pete, do you think we'll ever get to a day where if you buy a physical hardback copy of a book that you get the audiobook included for free?
That is the best question ever posed on this show. You should absolutely.
Are you going to do it? You going to push for that? Be a pioneer?
Dude, I have no power. I will tell you this though. What also is annoying, if I get an audiobook on my Audible account and then I want Mrs. Planner to listen to it, like there's not an easy way within the house to just hand her the book,
Mm-hmm.
you know, without like logging in for like, you should just be able to like, that's my boo. Let her listen. Right? I'm a romance.
Just whenever she wants to hear it, just follow her around the house reading your book to her.
She doesn't want to read his book.
Oh no, yeah, she does.
Wow.
No.
Right. I misunderstood.
To this day, we got to get going. To this day, and I've stopped doing it because it's just like it's not healthy for anybody. I'll be like, oh, hey, I wrote this. I like this sentence, or I like this paragraph on the column, or whatever, book, whatever. And I'll read it. She'll, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what I don't know if I expect her to like chest bump me or like what I expect her to do. But she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, how needy am I? The question was, does the book start with 207 years ago? No, it doesn't. It starts with I don't know. You know what? Let's read the opening stanza to the book here and there because we don't have time. I actually have a meeting. I gotta go, but I will read you the open. Here we go. All right, Dame. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
That's how it opens. Oh, that's not great.
It's a bad opening. Here we go. Now I feel really lame. Like I just took a breath there. All right, I'll get you. Here we go. Introduction. Oh, I'll do an audiobook read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Practice.
Yeah.
Introduction. Actually, let me start from the beginning. Hold on. Okay, here we go. It's not your fault, but it is your problem. How people leaders can build amazing organizations by understanding employees' challenges. Written by Peter Dunn, narrated by the author. For the problem solvers, the ones who don't just spot the issue, but roll up their sleeves, stay clear, stay confident, stay in it. Introduction. Diamonds. That was what I thought they were. Diamonds, thousands of them, scattered across my parents' driveway alongside my red Pontiac Grand Am. It was the summer between my sophomore and junior year in college. I was due at work, but all I could do was stand there and gape at the dazzling array on the tarmac. I quickly realized I was wrong. These glittering nuggets weren't diamonds. They were shards of glass, the shattered remains of my Grand Am's driver's side window. I craned my neck to peer inside my car. I didn't like what I saw, or more accurately, what I didn't see, such as my wallet, or my checkbook, or my Sony Discman, or the binder that contained my epic CD collection. I hurried back inside and called my dad, who had already been at his work desk for 3 hours or so, to tell him what had happened. He answered with silence. "It's not my fault," I cried after a painfully long beat. "No," he agreed. "It's not your fault, but it is your problem." Ladies and gentlemen, that's the intro to the book.
It's pretty good.
Feels good.
Maybe consider using AI.
Oh, to read it? You didn't like my read?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a little spicier.
Time out.
I don't know. Oh, boy. Let's move on. My gosh, we're over. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money right here on the Pete the Planner show is the Cabas La Sphere Evo speakers, based in Brest, France.
Time out.
Yeah.
Brest.
Okay.
Since 1950, Cabase continues, I'm mispronouncing that, continues to be a trailblazer in the world of audiophile grade performance speakers. This pair may be their most impressive to date, featuring 4 amplifiers and each speaker capable of 10,200 watts of power. The combined power offers a ridiculous 14 hertz to 27,000 hertz frequency range, bringing new meaning to the phrase full range. Okay. And if that isn't enough, they offer an eye-catching look that could fit in well among any dark future fidelity setup. Scheduled for release later this year, every pair is built in-house in France and includes a numbered anniversary plaque. So, Dame, we're going to let Kristen go first. Kristen, what do we got?
You know, Big Rick in the comments here on our live stream has me really panicking with his guess because I wasn't anywhere near that. And I'm the worst guesser in the whole wide world. So I am going to guess $6,000.
$6,000. Okay, Dame, what would you pay for this pair from Breasts?
I'd really like to know how big they are, because they look like they could be desktop speakers almost, but they, I mean,
I believe, let's call them tower speakers. Let's do that.
tower speaker. Okay, fine. These are like at least $15,000.
$135,000. Dame, what's in the news this week?
Federal appeals court decided yesterday that President Trump does not have to rip up his tariff playbook for now. The court temporarily paused a ruling by the Court of International Trade, which determined on Wednesday that Trump did not have the authority to impose most of the economy-shaking tariffs he's unveiled since January. That included his sweeping Liberation Day blanket tariffs of 10% or more on virtually all foreign goods, as well as additional duties on Canadian and Mexican imports, all of which Trump introduced under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The White House is expected to ask the Supreme Court to decide whether this was fair game if lower appeals courts don't ultimately preserve the tariffs. Pete, is this the beginning of the end of tariffs?
Oh, I thought you meant of humanity. I'm like, well, AI handled that. No, I'll tell you this, though. When all that was going down this week, and it happened in like a 24-hour period, if not less, I thought, you know, you don't have to think the strategy that's been going on with the instant 50% and then pull back. You don't have to necessarily believe that this has been President Trump's perfect plan all along. You could say he's making it up. You could say it's been his plan all along. But the one thing that has thrown this thing off kilter more than anything was the idea that it's not his decision
right
in that moment. And that's what want to say spooked me because I'm not scared, but that's the thing that gave me pause this week to go, huh, I don't think he accounted for that.
What do you think about the have you heard the taco trade?
Yes. Look, I love a good challenge on things like that. I don't know. I don't. What was it? How does it?
Trump always chickens out.
Trump always chickens out. Yeah, that was what a reporter asked him right there in the White House, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Look, whether I agree with him or disagree, I'm like, I don't like the own. I owned, that question owned you. Like, I'm just not into that, right? Kristen, your thoughts?
Well, I just feel like I'm living like deja vu. I feel like this is the Biden-Harris administration and student loans all over again, where it's like forgiveness, wrong, you don't have that power. New repayment plans, like wrong, you don't have that power. And here we are, how many years later, and people are still in forbearance because courts can't decide if a previous administration did or didn't have that power.
I had not considered it that way. I'd not considered the parallel. That's really interesting.
What do we think as individuals? Do we think that this is just going to be a continuing trend? Do we think the executive branch from here on out is going to be more aggressive with what they try and do unilaterally, regardless of the party that's in there?
Yes.
That's a really complex question, right?
I'm asking for a yes or no.
Dame would never give you just a yes or a no, but he's demanding that from you.
Man, I don't know. I don't want to be so cynical as to say yes. That's my answer. I don't want to be cynical to say yes.
I will. Yes.
Fair enough. What else is in the news?
It's a buyer's market. Sort of. Last month, there were about 500,000 more people selling homes in the United States than there were people trying to buy them.
Whoa.
A report by Redfin released yesterday. This is the biggest gap between buyers and sellers since the real estate company started collecting data in 2013. And while the new numbers look pretty good for anyone thinking about lowballing a 2-bed, 2-bath ranch, taking more data into consideration complicates things. The good news for buyers, in addition to the glut of home sellers, the number of brand new, unsold single-family homes rose in April to 117,000, the highest it's been since July of 2009. And homeowners who were dragging their feet on selling so they could cling to low mortgage rates are starting to move. Redfin expects housing prices to fall about 1% this year as a result of increased inventory, but it's still really expensive to buy a house. The median home price jumped 1.6% year over year last month and is sitting at...
What's the question?
The median home price in America is sitting at...
Oh, wait, Pete has to go first because he's out of touch.
Wow.
That's what you're going to say. You're going to say, this question's going to make me seem out of touch, so you have to go first.
I hate that I'm this predictable. $470,000.
Kristen.
It's higher than that. It's probably like 510.
$431,000.
Hey, I'm out of touch.
Look, I'm out there touching folks. I touch folks. Wait,
What
else is in the news?
$17.1 million, Pete. That's the value of the paychecks North Koreans illegally collected from 300 plus U.S. companies through an Arizona laptop farm, according to federal prosecutors. Several dozen farms where one individual might operate dozens of laptops have popped up across the United States using everyday Americans for cover. The scammers use stolen identities to get remote U.S. tech jobs and then earn money for cash-strapped Pyongyang.
It's kind of genius. Like, I don't love it. It's genius. It's diabolical, but it's genius.
Yeah. Evil genius.
Man, now I see why the president of North Korea is able to get so many holes in one when he plays golf, because that's genius.
18 holes in one. I mean, it is.
That's an impressive round.
Really impressive.
Have you ever had 18 holes in one on one round of golf?
I've never had one hole in one on a round of golf.
He regularly will score an 18 on a par 70 course.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's just a flight away from a PGA Tour card and being the best golfer ever.
Dave, do you have one more?
Gold's still glimmering. Oil, it's sliding. Crude's down 14% in 2025, and April saw the steepest drop, monthly drop rather, since 2021. Gas prices hit a 4-year low this past Memorial Day weekend, bringing us all that sweet, sweet relief at the pump.
Thank goodness for that. All right, everybody. That's it for the show this week. Boy, this is going to be a 43-second outro.
Sorry.
Kristen, big plans for the 1st of June weekend the really important 1st of June weekend?
I mean, lots of house projects. That's just the name of the game.
Soccer for me, of course. And Dame is on vacation on a beach in a sun shirt. So I hope that is great for you. For those that listen to the Pete the Planner podcast, we have 4 episodes left, I should say, of Navigating Now, which is a
Comcast,
and just walks you through what has happened since April 2nd, which has been called Liberation Day in our history. So as it relates to that, sending you good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This has been the Pete the Planner Show. That was just terribly dumb and extra to this whole thing. And I have words. Guys, I gotta go. I have gone over.
Sorry, Jeremiah.
Sorry, Jaron. Oh, gonna do a 9-hour Boss Hog of Liberty episode. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. And to everyone else, stay getting All right, y'all. I gotta go.
Same.
Okay.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.